Let's go back.
Welcome back to Fair It's Gone. An exciting month of baseball finally wrapped up here, recording May 10th. Little shake up in how we're going about things. Usually we got, like lineup of the week, offense of the week, staff of the week. This week we're actually starting out with kind of the April team of the month and then the April team offense of the month and team staff of the month, and then we'll kind of get into what happened this past week in May. So throughout April, there was some surprise names and a lot of names that, I think we all expected to kind of be here rolling into the season. A lot of the April team of the month that I put together here is based a lot off on WAR. But looking at some other things, some other guys may snuck in there for one reason or another. But starting off behind the plate, really a two-man race here. It was between JT Realmuto and Carson Kelly. I ended up giving the nod to Carson Kelly just because of WAR. 8 extra base hits on the month, also 15 walks. A guy that we mentioned in Arizona who needs to kind of have an uptick here, and he was there. He outperformed everyone at his position. JT could have easily made a run for it, but at the end of the day, I kind of sided with the leader in WAR there on Carson Kelly behind the plate. A guy I honestly didn't expect to be there. We all know he needed to be a little better, but didn't expect him to be, top 2 catcher throughout April. And then moving on here to the infield, you got Vlad Jr. at first base. Monster April. Batted .357 ding-dongs, and most importantly, walked 20 times. I believe that was third best in the league. At second base, another name that I didn't expect to see here. Second base kind of weak all around this month. No one really broke out the way I think we expected them to, but Nick Solak ending the month with 29 hits along with 7 home runs. At third base, a name that we mentioned a lot in the offseason, the last 2 off seasons, whether it be in trades, whether it be in rebuilding, whether it be needs to pick it up. Chris Bryant from the Chicago Cubs ends the month with 9 doubles, 7 home runs. Beast at third base for the Cubs. At shortstop, I would put Tatis here. He just didn't play enough. Frankly, he was out about half the month, a lot of errors. So he kind of null and void that one. So ended up going Trey Turner here, 26 hits, 10 extra base hits, 5 stolen bases. In the outfield, I think 3 guys that we all penciled in to have really good seasons this year: Mike Trout, Ronald Acuna Jr., and Byron Buxton. Mike Trout hit .425 with a .781 slug. I could read his entire stat line. He'd be top 3 at everything but about stolen bases. Ronald Acuna Jr. obviously on here, 15 extra base hits, 15 walks. Hit the crap out of the ball all month. And then Byron Buxton, .426 with 16 extra base hits, plus some unbelievable defense, and that was missing about 20 plate appearances to his counterparts here. Still had 16 extra base hits. At DH, probably the best DH in baseball over the last 5 to 6 years, JD Martinez, 19 extra base hits with basically 9 home runs there. Really good from JD. Starting pitching, no surprise here. Jacob deGrom takes pitcher of the month. 35 innings pitched, 59 Ks, .51 ERA. And then relief pitcher, could have gone one way or another. Ended up going Mark Melancon here, led the league in saves, 9 saves, .69 ERA. Really good for Melancon all around. But team of the month, yeah, a lot of guys I expected and a lot of guys I didn't expect, frankly.
Carson Kelly's another guy who we kind of liked going into the year and has really played well through the start of the season. And then we've got our mainstays. It's nice to see Chris Bryant back up here, hitting the ball well. I think I saw something this morning. He's like first in the majors in barrel rate this year, which is nuts.
Figuring things out.
Yeah, and then your mainstays, Trey Turner, Mike Trout, Acuna, deGrom is same old deGrom, just pitching his tail off. And Melancon, a late career, not bounce back because he's been good.
Resurgence, maybe?
Yeah, resurgence. I think with the departure of Kirby Yates, it was important for San Diego to bring somebody back into that bullpen that could replicate that, and Melancon's done that so far, for sure.
Yeah, I think you put it best with all that right there. Really good team, man. Really good team. It's not like anyone underperformed here. I think the biggest standout for me has to be Mike Trout, a guy who has yet to even glimpse a step back from his career. Like, I can't speak highly enough on Mike Trout. We've been talking about him for a decade now as, the best player in baseball, and there's really been no debate to it. And, maybe with a couple injuries here, he had a quote-unquote down year last year and was still probably an MVP candidate. And a lot of people are kind of, maybe it's time for, Acuna, guys like Tatis to kind of take over that role as best player in baseball. And it's not even close, frankly. Mike Trout's doing unworldly things. He might be having his career best season right now. And we're talking about a guy that we've already penciled in as who could possibly go down as the greatest player in baseball history. Or at least among the ranks of Ruth, Mays, Aaron, Bonds, A-Rod, who could go down kind of in that same light already, and we're barely into his career, and he's still putting up numbers that are just unfathomable. So Mike Trout's here to stay. I'm happy that he's definitely put those injuries, concerns, step back here last year to rest before those got blown out of hand. But the rest of what we see here a lot. And this is the thing I want to point out, and this is where baseball is kind of moving to, is we're seeing a lot of athletic guys. As much as I love baseball, there is a time and a place where baseball players, comparatively speaking to the NBA, NFL, don't have the best of body shapes here, and it's obviously been a running joke for as long as baseball has been around. But when you're probably most out of shape guy is JD Martinez, and he's really built like a truck more than anything out of shape. Vlad Jr., obviously, you mentioned losing all that weight. Acuna, Buxton, Turner are literal freaks when it comes to being athletic. Frankly, DeGrom is as well, and Trout's built like a truck. Chris Bryant is very athletic. Nick Solak is just your typical all-around really athletic baseball player. Carson Kelly isn't your typical 300-pound catcher behind the plate either. He's got a little bit of movement to him there, and maybe this is a trend we're seeing in a lot of younger baseball here. But these are a lot of athletic guys that I'm really noticing here. We're not getting a lot of the best way I can put it here, the Prince Fielders, the Ryan Howards, guys like that who have kind of been the staple of really good but unathletic baseball players who may have taken that limelight from those athletic players. We're not even seeing that this month. We're seeing literally straight all ridiculously athletic guys from top to bottom. That's just my biggest thing that I notice here is these are a lot of athletic guys who can do anything and everything on the baseball field, it seems.
No, and we look at the outfield, especially with Trout, Buxton, and even Acuna too. Defensively, it just we're pointing out the offensive numbers, but I mean that's as good of a defensive outfield as you could put together as well. Infield not quite as great defensively, but yeah, these aren't just one-dimensional. It's not a David Ortiz type guy. All of these guys play solid defense. They've all got decent speed, athleticism outside of JD Martinez. But again, there's a reason he's in our team of the month at DH and not in the outfield. But yeah, no, that's a good thing to point out that I think you're right. We've really, at least looking at top performers in April, it's really skewed towards guys that are super athletic.
Yeah, and here's the thing is even though the infield's numbers may not be the greatest defensively due to a glove, we've seen Trey Turner play center field in Major League Baseball. We've seen Chris Bryant play corner outfield spots in Major League Baseball. Nick Solak is a utility player. So those three guys alone can bounce to the outfield, which is where you need your most athletic players to be. Their defensive numbers may not be great, but still they are in that kind of prime baseball condition that we're seeing today. That allows them to be very versatile out on the field, despite the maybe lack of glove work. But I do want to mention some honorable mentions because I don't think we can go throughout April without mentioning these guys at the end of the month. Yerban Mercedes did not stop. He came on hot in that first game. Obviously, that performance, and he did not stop. He ended up leading the league, tied for first, really, with 34 hits, batting .415 on the month. Tying him, Cedric Mullins, a guy who was on my star list twice. He also tied him with 34 hits and 9 doubles for the Orioles. And then Jesse Winker, a guy that we've been talking about, I feel like since the beginning of last season, ended up batting .370 with 12 extra base hits. And a name that's not getting a lot of love on the baseball Twitter hype community recently, Bryce Harper, a .1063 OPS, 11 extra base hits, 16 walks. And Harper's not doing anything sexy right now. He's just doing everything correct. That's the best way I can put it. Harper is being a star player and doing star player things. He just isn't leading the league in home runs. He's not leading the league in walks. He's not leading the league in defensive metrics. He's not leading the league in stolen bases. But he's like top 10 in every single metric there is. He's doing everything right. There's no controversy around Bryce Harper. We kind of talked about this is the role he needs to kind of go with how up and down his career in the Nationals has been. And it's, I wouldn't say nice because I'm not the biggest Bryce Harper fan, but it is, I guess it is nice. I guess it is nice to see him finally settle into that superstar role without having to make himself appear to be a superstar, just letting his numbers speak for themselves.
Yeah, no, I agree. Did you see that graphic? I'm sure you were watching the game last night with Braves and Phillies. Did you see that graphic of Harper through 5,000 PAs compared to Bonds?
Yes.
I mean, I know that was pre-juicing Bonds, but I also think, correct me if I'm wrong, there's kind of a consensus that even without the roids, Bonds probably would have been a Hall of Fame player.
Correct.
And to see Harper's numbers stack up that well with Bonds through 5,000 PAs. I mean, I know we talked about how Harper's been up and down, and he's really only had the one elite year in 2015, surrounded by some all-star seasons, some fairly good years, and then a couple years where he kind of underperformed. But I didn't quite realize just over the body of his career how good he's been and how well he stacks up to a guy that we regard as probably the most feared hitter of all time. And even without the steroids, we regard as a five-tool borderline Hall of Fame player. I had no idea that his first 5,000 PAs stacked up that well to Bonds.
Yeah, I think that's the thing we're going to find out about Harper is outside of that one really elite year, he's been an all-star, but I would not be surprised to see Bryce Harper be an all-star for about 15 seasons. Just consistently top 10,
approach is
everything.
So good.
He's athletic. His approach is good. He doesn't have a real large platoon split. He walks a lot. Yeah. Strikeouts don't mean anything in today's game. I would not be surprised if we get to the end of Bryce Harper's career and he's a 15, 16, 17-time All-Star. By that point, even late into his 38, 39 kind of seasons, if he ever transitions into that kind of DH role. I
would agree. For sure. No, his arc's going to be interesting, especially with how hyped he came in.
Absolutely.
You don't know carve out the career that he has.
Absolutely. I want to kind of swing back up to these first two names we mentioned. We've talked a lot about Jesse Winker over the last month, so he's crushed the ball. I'm just going to kind of leave it at that. He deserves a nod. Yermin Mercedes and Cedric Mullins leading the league in hits with 34 apiece. Wasn't on my bingo card. Wasn't anywhere close to
be lying if I said I saw that coming.
Cedric Mullins, again, a guy we've mentioned. I think I've mentioned him at least twice now. That a guy who it was up, the center field job was up between him and Austin Hayes, and one of them had to step up. And I can tell you, I did not expect Cedric Mullins to step up in this way. Bright spot for the Orioles. I think the Orioles are really lacking some bright spots outside of like Mancini, who is frankly kind of coming to an end here in Mountcastle. But Mullins has looked really, really good this season, and Yermin Mercedes, out of absolutely nowhere, has been quite unbelievable. I really thought it was going to be a flash in the pan week kind of thing. Next, he's hitting .415 throughout April here. I can't give enough love to it. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and talk about it a lot because we've talked about it all month. But I did just want to rewrap that and let people understand that they are leading the league in hits at the end of April. They were leading the league in hits at the end of April. We're obviously 10 days into May now. But that's quite an unbelievable feat for two guys who weren't on 99.9% of people's radars, and Yermin Mercedes was on no one's radar. Let's keep it a break here.
No, I mean, this is one of the things that makes baseball awesome is I feel like every year you have guys come up kind of unheralded out of nowhere. I mean, most of the time you get it with football, you get it with basketball, but the minor league system in baseball is so extensive that it's really easy for guys to fly under the radar throughout their careers. They kind of bounce around, never break through, take some time, and then they pop up, and they're ball players, man, and they get it done, and you see it every year. So it's awesome to see not one guy really showing out, but two guys who just weren't on anybody's radars, weren't super heralded, have kind of bounced around. I mean, it's not like they're debuting at 21, 22 this year, and all of a sudden tearing it up. I mean, they're a little bit further into their careers, and to see them kind of come up and then really have this great success out of nowhere is just awesome. and one of the reasons that I think we all love baseball and love to tune in.
Absolutely. Let's bring it over to pitchers here for the last 4 honorable mentions. We got Garrett Cole here, 6th game started, 1.43 ERA, 62 Ks. Has not been as dominant as Jacob deGrom, but you can't ask for much more from good old Coltrane. Danny Duffy, 4 games started, .39 ERA, 27 Ks, led the Royals to the best record in baseball throughout April. Sadly, that is nowhere close to any longer. The Royals have tailspin in May. We'll get to that later. And then on the relief side, Alex Reyes, a highly touted prospect, went down with Tommy John a few years ago. No one really knew what was going on with him. So far this season, so far in April, he pitched in 12 games. He had 6 saves and had a 0.00 ERA. And then Matt Barnes, the supposed closer for the Red Sox. There's a lot of question marks in that bullpen. 13 games pitched this year, has 6 saves, a 2.57 ERA. But the most impressive thing, in those 13 games pitched, he has 25 strikeouts. Which is 2 an inning roughly, which is really, really impressive. Circling back up Coltrane, as I expected, frankly. You gave him all that money, perform as is. He has. Well, I don't feel like we really need to talk about him too much other than being literally the only consistent pitcher that it seems like in the Yankees rotation right now. But he has been very, very, very good. No complaints there. Crafty lefty, Danny Duffy, huh? Is that really what we're rolling with the Royals here? Career resurgence, April flash in the pan. I'm gonna lean towards flash in the pan. I feel like we've seen this from Danny Duffy. I feel like a few years ago he had like a really good first half. I don't know why I'm remembering this. I could be completely off basis. But I feel like we've seen this from Danny Duffy before. Hey, crafty lefty, tip my cap.
No, I mean we have seen it before, all the way back in. It doesn't feel like that long ago, because I agree. I mean, I feel like we've seen it from him recently where he was pretty good. They extended him. They were talking about after a year or two when the Royals weren't contending anymore. Hey, Danny Duffy might be a trade chip, and he hadn't pitched all that well. That was all the way back in 2014, 7 seasons ago. Up a 2.53 ERA at 150 innings, and then since then, only had an ERA under 4, 2 different seasons after that, but pitched really well to start this season. One of the reasons that the Royals carry the best record in baseball through the end of April. Absolutely nobody saw that coming. I mean, I think we both had them beyond 25 in our power rankings this year to start the year.
Yes.
Then Alex Reyes, too, kind of coming out of nowhere. He's pitched really well. Good to see him bounce back from injuries. You always been a few guys that have been highly touted and just haven't really been able to get over the arm injury hump.
You know,
this really, if he can stay healthy this season, this may be his first fully healthy season, right?
Yes, and here's the thing about Alex Reyes is how many question marks do we have for the Cardinals bullpen this year? We knew Carlos Martinez was not going to be the answer back there. John Gant surely won't go be it. We had a lot of questions for it, and Alex Reyes I thought was going to be in the long rotation or long reliever role, 6-man in the rotation kind of role, and he stepped up to be a legitimate major league closing pitcher right now, who can go multiple innings, kind of like a excuse me if I'm overstepping here, a right-handed Josh Hader kind of role when Josh Hader first got into the league. We're not talking about the guy who just broke the record for fastest player to 400 Ks, which also Josh Hader, congratulations, that's ridiculous. But kind of in that, hey, if I need you to go 1 2/3, you can. You know what I mean? You're an ex-starter. You have all the gas in the world. You throw 100. Go out and do it. We also knew Jordan Hicks wasn't going to be the answer because the dude can't ever stay healthy, and even when he isn't healthy, just because he throws 103, 104, doesn't exactly mean hitters miss. He misses the strike zone a lot. He surely don't miss bats.
He is not, for as hard as he throws, it really surprises me how low his strikeout rate is.
Yep, absolutely. So Alex Reyes has really nailed down the St. Louis Cardinals bullpen question marks here, at least the back end ones. I'm not sure about the 7th, 8th inning ones, but when it comes to 9th inning, I think they got themselves a winner.
Yes, no. What's crazy, he debuted back in 2016 as a 21-year-old through 46 innings. Only thrown 26 outside of this season, 2017 to 2020. He pitched well when he debuted. 1.57 ERA in 46 innings. He was ready for the big leagues. This just speaks to how injured he was the next 5 years. 2017 through 2020, he threw a combined 26 and two-thirds innings in the majors.
If I'm not mistaken, do you remember where he was when he got hurt? Do you remember where you were when he got hurt? I know where you were. I know where I was.
I don't.
I'm fairly certain we were in Myrtle Beach seeing Brad.
You might have been.
I'm like 90% sure that we were in Myrtle Beach.
That was around that time, because that was that after your senior year.
Yes.
Yep, that was that summer then that he got hurt.
Random fact, I don't know why I remember that so vividly. Very, very random fact. But in the same light, Matt Barnes doing the exact same thing for the Red Sox. Not on Alex Reyes' ERA level, but those 25 Ks are pretty unbelievable. He's striking guys at a ridiculous clip right now. Another team, exact same situation, didn't know what the back end of the back into the bullpen was going to look like. We knew Matt Barnes was going to have that role to lose, and he ain't lost it. I think he won it. He's going to have a decently long leash here for the Boston Red Sox going forward.
Yeah, no, he's been solid. We talked, that was the thing I harped on going into the year. Boston needed pitching in the rotation and the bullpen, and Barnes has stepped up. He's been great for them.
Yep, bingo. Let's move on to kind of some team awards here before we get into this past week of baseball. Offense of the month, I ended up giving it to the Chicago White Sox. They were first in league in average, first in OBP, first in weighted runs created plus, and fourth in runs. And then staff of the month, the Padres, first in ERA, fifth in FIP, first in Ks, third in batting average against. I would have given it to the Mets, but the Mets threw about 60, 70 less innings than the Padres did over the month. So very similar to the Tatis situation. I just couldn't give him that nod. 60 innings is a lot of innings for a lot of things to go wrong. And for the Padres to still lead the league in ERA and Ks and batting average against, I'll tip my cap to the Padres here. And that includes the Padres' really, really good bullpen bark by closer of the month, Mark Melancon.
Ed, no, we talked about the Padres staff going in. They really loaded up, went out and got Darvish, went out and got Snell, got Clevenger last year, who he's still out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, went out and got Musgrove, too, who's thrown a no-no this year. Lost a little bit in the bullpen, but the Melancon pickup has helped a lot. That doesn't surprise me at all that their rotation's been that good. We talked about they had borderline the best pitching staff in baseball behind the Dodgers and the Mets. Expected this from them. It maybe overperformed a little bit just because you never know going into the season, but they've been very solid. The White Sox is really what surprised me. If you would have asked me at the beginning of the year, shown me that, I don't think I would have batted an eye. I think it would have made sense because we were big on them. I think both of us were going into the year, especially their offense with all those young guys. But the thing that has surprised me looking back is that their offense has still been that good, despite the fact that Eloy Jimenez has been out most of the year, despite the fact that Luis Robert has been out half the year now with his hip injury, and despite the fact that Yasmani Grandal is hitting a whopping 117. I know he's been walking a lot, but at the end of the day, he's one of the better hitting catchers in baseball, and walks are only one base and they don't drive anyone in. So the fact that they've been able to put up those numbers offensively with three of their pretty key cogs either being hurt or ineffective is really impressive to me and speaks to the depth of their lineup right now.
And here's the thing about the White Sox that I really want to touch on is Jose Abreu won the MVP last season. We talk a lot, and I'm not talking about just you and me. I'm talking about baseball content creators, writers in general. Talking a lot about the White Sox and how sexy Eloy and how sexy Luis Robert seem and how good Tim Anderson is. And I love Tim Anderson. He deserves it. I was going to touch on Tim Anderson right after this, but they have the reigning AL MVP on their team, and it doesn't appear that he exactly wants to slow down. I don't think he's going to win the MVP again this season, but he's a very professional hitter. He knows what he's doing at the plate. He's not going to throw away at bats. And that's something that is huge. And you tack on a guy like Tim Anderson, who right now looks like he could possibly be the best hitting shortstop in Major League Baseball. He's ridiculous out there. You got a guy like Yohan Moncada who hasn't hit that well, but again, walks a decent amount, is a very good hitter. You add a guy like Adam Eaton back to the White Sox. This team is the perfect mix of veteran presence, good veteran presence, not crappy veteran presence, plus young guys who are really going to benefit from said veteran presence. That has allowed them to really spark the way they've sparked so far this season.
Yeah, no, and all that. Yerman Mercedes too has come out of
Yes.
nowhere. Just played his tail off. He's stroked the ball. He is probably the biggest reason that the White Sox are sitting in this position offensively. Still, I mean, even with one guy having a great season, we've seen it with even with Trout, the Angels' offense is still lackluster. So even with Mercedes having the month that he did, it really takes all 9 guys. Baseball is as much of a team sport as it comes, and hitting's contagious.
Yes, it is. And as I wrap up April here, I do want to have a discussion. I know we discussed it last pod, but I do want to bring it back up. This is probably the worst April we've seen from team offenses in the last month. When do you think enough is enough from the 3-outcome baseball era? Because it takes me a lot to start questioning that, because I believe that the concept is very smart. I believe that it makes sense. It makes sense on paper. But when do pitchers get so good that it just needs to stop, and there needs to be some median found? You know what I'm saying? Some compromise to that find. Because as much as I love Joey Gallo and all of them, as much as I think walking is good and all of that makes sense on paper, but when at the end of the day the ball has to go into play, you have to drive in runs, and you have to put runs up on the board. It is as simple as that. And there's so many players that I love that seem to be in this 3-outcome mindset that just, there's so much they could do, and it just seems like they don't do it.
Yeah, I have a hard time coming to terms with whether it's really the 3-outcome mindset that has spiraled offense this way, or whether it's been kind of the pitching revolution and the analytics on the pitching side that we've seen. I mean, we saw we've talked about it a little bit, kind of the arcing approaches of baseball deciding, hey, walks are pretty efficient, home runs are very efficient. And so we're going to try for as much of those as we can. And strikeouts really aren't as bad as we thought they were, especially when you've got other guys behind you that can hit the ball out of the park. We don't have to string together 5 singles to score 2 runs. And so I wonder if it's the approach or if it's kind of the pitching analytics change, where they're so much more focused on tunneling and spin rate and just kind of fine-tuning pitches, where pitcher stuff has just gotten so gross. I mean, I can't blame the guys. I don't know how they hit some of those pitches. Sometimes there's just nothing you can do. So I wonder if it's a combination of the two, but I really think for things to change, especially at the way it's going to take a completely different approach from a team like maybe the Rays or the A's, where they just decide, you know what, screw it, we're going to have a change in approach. We're going to try to get guys like a Whit Merrifield and model after that like a David Fletcher, guys like that who are defense first, can hit the ball well, have professional approaches, guy like Michael Brantley that aren't swinging for the fences. And I think until a team switches their approach kind of and has success, until that happens, I don't see much changing. And I don't know, honestly, because say what you want about where the game's going, I don't mind it. I think the all or nothing, go out for a home run or strike out on a disgusting pitch, I would argue that's more fun to watch than watching us slap single through the 5-6 hole.
You know, that's fair. The thing of baseball, I think we've reached that point where obviously when the offensive side blooms and they go on attack, and, you know, they say they have better analytics, whatever, better approach. It happens in baseball. It goes in waves. That's the best way I can put it. And whether you like it or not, or whether the old heads like it or not, in the 90s, in the 2000s, 3-outcome baseball produced some of the best hitters of all time because pitchers only threw 92. They didn't know about high fastballs and how effective they could be. They threw a lot less sliders. They threw a lot more sinkers and splitters. And guys like A-Rod and Bonds and McGuire and Sosa, regardless of steroids, that's usually where we pin it at. But even guys like Andrew Jones, and the list goes on and on and on. We're all 3-outcome guys. Let's look at it. They walked a lot, they hit a lot of home runs, and they struck out more than we had ever seen in the game. But it worked really, really well, right? So finally, Twitter or whomever declares the 3-outcome way because it just keeps growing. Well, pitchers obviously have to counteract that. And now we have guys like Jacob deGrom who throw 100 miles per hour with 93 mile per hour sliders. If you're not throwing 95, you barely get a sniff in Major League Baseball unless you're Shane Bieber, and you better have the nastiest slider cutter curveball combination in the world, and he's still throwing 94, right? 94 was very hard, even back then. And now, especially with the Royals, I would say, kind of in the 2014s, 2015s, where you have 7 guys that can come out of the pen who throw 100, all with nasty sliders, and you utilize that a little more. Pitching has, I think, this year has reached its peak. This is the nastiest pitching we've ever seen, and I don't know. I just feel like it's time for hitting, maybe to take a little different approach at things, because doing the same thing over and over and over again is quite frankly insanity, because you are getting the same result 95% of the time. But I'm gonna shelf that one there. Think what you want. I don't know what's gonna happen down the road. It just seems like it's kind of getting to that point to me. But you make a very valid point. It's gonna take someone else doing something different to do it, because obviously it took the Royals, I think, back in 2014 2015 to do it, for everyone to catch on, and now we're seeing teams that only go starters for 5 innings now, all the time, like that's normal.
No, I think both sides are valid on the is it a good direction, bad direction, whatever. I can see it both ways. I think there's fair arguments on both sides, but I will firmly stand by. It's really going to take a team like the 2015 Royals, like the Rays, or like Andrew Miller with the Indians, perfect example. He kind of bucked the trend of relievers, and we've seen more and more teams do that. More and more teams not necessarily do that, but just be very flexible and outside the box with their bullpen, starting to use openers, stuff like that. And it really, I mean, I think you'd agree, it started with Andrew Miller in that 2016 run in the regular season. And we've never seen a team acquire a pitcher like that and proceed to not use him in the 9th inning. And It's going to take a kind of mini revolution like that, I think, to substantially change the direction that we're going right now.
It will. It absolutely will. I wholeheartedly agree. That's going to wrap us up here for April. Let's move back into May. I'm going for the team of the week here. I'm going May 1st through May 10th. We'll just slide in those 3 extra days. No point in leaving them out here. So behind the plate, Christian Vasquez hit 455 with 10 hits. First base, Paul Goldschmidt hit 355 with 11 hits. Second base, Marcus Semien kind of coming alive here. We talked about him early, not having the greatest of starts. Hit 400 with 7 extra base hits. I'm going to go ahead and let you pronounce this name because I will mess it up.
Isaiah Kiner-Falefa.
Thank you. Hit 412 with 6 extra base hits. Miguel Rojas, shortstop, hit 407 with 6 extra base hits. Adolis Garcia hit 400 with 4 ding-dongs. Giancarlo Stanton hit 370 with 3 home runs and 5 walks. Josh Rojas had a 1308 OPS with 12 hits. At the DH spot, Yordan Alvarez hit 469 with 4 home runs. At starting pitcher, and I will harp on him later, with Husker went 2-0, 13 innings pitched, .69 ERA. That includes a grand slam from him as well. And then relief pitcher of the week, Aroldis Chapman, 5 innings pitched, 3 saves, 9 Ks. Wow, that is a lot of random names.
Yeah, no, that was the first thing that stuck out to me when I saw the list is not quite as many of the mainstays that we had on the April Team of the Month list, which is good. Again, I think it's fun when you get guys breaking out, coming out of nowhere, making contributions. As much as it is fun to see the old guard dominate, it's also fun to see guys come up out of nowhere and have a great week like Adolis Garcia, where he hits 4 tanks in 1 week for the Texas Rangers.
Absolutely. I do want to the guy I want to touch on quickly before we kind of get into more of these. I don't want to say random or unknown, but lesser known names. I do want to touch on Giancarlo Stanton. There is not a player in Major League Baseball history that when he's hitting the ball hard is hitting the ball hard. When the dude is on, the dude rips the cover off the baseball. I'm not using a hyperbole here. The cover comes off the baseball.
Quite literally, he is far and away, when you look at StatCast era, exit velas on home runs, hits, outs, he has 80% of the top 20 on the leaderboard.
I mean, frankly, I don't care what era it is. No one in baseball history has hit the ball as hard as Giancarlo Stanton. That dude is ridiculous. I mean, he's like 6'5", 250 of pure muscle. Like, that is a ginormous human being. And he flat out crushes baseball. He's a lot of fun to watch. You got to remember, he did win an MVP for just absolutely nuking balls out of the park in Miami. Just unbelievable from him. And another big hitter, Yordan Alvarez, is having a great season this year. A guy that doesn't get talked about enough in Houston, frankly. We talk about Altuve, we talk about Correa, Bregman, we talk about Brantley a little more than Alvarez, and Alvarez, who looks like the J.D. Martinez from the left side of the plate at this point. I think he can carve himself out a nice 15-year career at the DH spot. Nowhere else. Do not put him on in defense. Look, man, if he's that bad in the show, he's that bad in real life. Let's not even play that game. Good heavens.
Craziest thing to me about Alvarez, and I don't know that he would have had quite the same career arc because they wouldn't have had the DH, but we talk about a little bit of a sidebar, but we talk about the wealth of talent that the Dodgers have. He was in the Dodgers system too.
Yep.
It just, can you imagine that team right now on paper with your also?
No, I don't want to do it.
I don't either, but holy crap, dude can just flat out rake.
I mean, and then let's get into some of these smaller names. Miguel Rojas, Adolis Garcia, Josh Rojas, a lot of guys who just had big weeks for their teams, and frankly, they needed it. We'll get to Texas here in a minute. Texas has two guys on this team who both hit over 400. Garcia had 4 home runs. Connor Falafel? Please don't tell me to pronounce falafel. What?
Falafel.
Falafel. Falafels are good. Have you ever had a falafel? They're not bad. They're not bad. He will be forever known as Falafel. He will be Falafel on this podcast until the day I die. Isaiah Kiner Falafel and Adolis Garcia. Joel's Cassine. You to wrap him up there. You can chalk him onto that list. But 2 huge weeks here from Texas, a team that's been really scuffling here. Throughout the beginning of the season, puts 2 guys on the list here. I mean, it's Texas, baby. It's Texas. They have no one on offense. They have Joey Gallo, who walks a lot, but he really isn't being able to put the ball in play because he's basically getting pitched around, frankly. Like who would you rather pitch to, Joey Gallo, or name anyone on the Texas Rangers lineup?
We'll take the latter. Anyone on the Texas Rangers lineup.
Right, so it's basically guys like Garcia and Falafel need to step up, and they have this week because we're not getting that kind of production from David Dahl.
No, it's been nice to see. And a guy like Josh Rojas, he's with the D-backs, right?
Yes. The worst silver card in MLB show history.
And Miguel Rojas with the Marlins. Yeah, and then you've got a couple former MVP frontrunners, I guess, with Goldschmidt and Simeon, too. Kind of bouncing back, especially Simeon, man, after his year last year. And then didn't start out hot this year like I thought he would. Nice to see him turn it around, especially when they've been missing Springer basically the whole year. They really needed him and somebody else like Vlad Jr. to step up and be a mainstay in that lineup beside Bichette, and they've done that.
Absolutely. Can I move on to Husker Ynoa now?
Absolutely.
All right. That dude pisses on baseballs. It's about that flat.
Oh, he takes flat out daddy hacks. I love it.
Drop his dick. It's about that simple. He absolutely drops dick on baseballs. On top of just absolutely carving lineups. Again, 2-0, 13 innings pitched with a .69 ERA. Had a great week on the mound. And that includes, he has 2 home runs this season. This week he just had a grand slam. He hit 400. He's hitting 400 on the year with 2 home runs. That's better than half the Yankees offense and half the Braves offense right now. If we want to just take daggers into ourselves, Husker Ynoa has been a better hitter than Ender Inciarte had in his entire career with the Atlanta Braves. I will take Husker Ynoa any day of the week over any of the Braves, pinch hit options other than Pablo, who's come out of nowhere. Husker Ynoa, dude, what a guy! And with the Drew Smiley is exactly as we expected Drew Smiley to be. Right. Charlie Morton is exactly what we expect Charlie Morton to be. Max Fried's taking a huge step back, already on the injured list. Soroka hasn't come back. And who stepped up? Husker Ynoa has been the Braves' best pitcher all season. He's the guy I'm most confident in going out there. You know who we traded Husker Ynoa, or how we acquired Husker Ynoa?
Milwaukee, right?
The Twins.
That's right. They said that last night on the broadcast. I don't know. Probably somebody really obscure.
Jamie Garcia.
Oh my gosh, I forgot he existed.
Who was also the last Atlanta Braves pitcher to hit a grand slam. Fun fact of the day. Everything comes full circle.
Wow, that's bringing back a rush of memories I forgot I had.
Yes, Jamie Garcia hit a Braves grand slam, got traded for Husker Ynoa, and here we are 4 years later with Husker Ynoa hitting a grand slam. We can also chalk up Jamie Garcia to the obscure names that actually played for the Braves at some point during the career list. That list is a minimum of 5 miles long at this point.
He really fell off.
Yes.
He was really good from 2010 to 2015.
Yes, and then he hit a brick wall.
Just fell off.
Because throwing 91 will not get the job done, but for so long.
That is fair. I mean, started with St. Louis, and then in 2 seasons played for Atlanta, Minnesota, New York, Toronto, and Chicago in 2 years.
Yeah, struggle bus.
Got traded in 1 season, I think.
The struggle bus. Yeah, acquired Husker Ynoa for him, and this dude throws Chad. He takes daddy hacks. He's exactly the guy the Braves have needed to really step into that role with Max Fried kind of crap in the bed here in Soroka, not getting back healthy, and Drew Smiley for $13 million, by the way.
Oh, are you telling me that hasn't worked out so far?
No, that one. The Drew Smiley for Cy Young case hasn't exactly done it for me yet.
I would not have guessed.
No. Aroldis Chapman's the best closer in baseball. Let's put that debate to rest. He's really good. There's no one better. If anyone says they're better, they're doing it for clickbait. Has that one been established yet?
I won't fight you on that.
All right, cool. Moving on to the offense of the week. Here, as I mentioned, the Texas Rangers leading the league in runs, home runs average, and tied for first in doubles as well. We mentioned their 2 mainstays. Joey Gallo's back healthy and kind of doing what he needs to do, which is walk a lot and let other guys drive him in because no one wants to pitch to him. Looks like the Texas Rangers offense has been making this turn. I think this is the one that I predicted was supposed to be really good last year, and they kind of crapped the bed. So hopefully my prediction is continue to come right a year later, a little late resurgence there. From the Texas Rangers and my predictions, but good for them. I like a lot of the guys on Texas, including guys like Willie Calhoun. I'm still pissed they traded Elvis Andrews, but it is what it is at this point. But yeah, Texas hit the crap out of the ball throughout the first 10 days of May.
Yeah, no, I think they've settled right in the middle of where you thought they would be last season, where I thought they would be this season. You were huge on them last year. I think you picked them to win the division, didn't you?
Let's not talk about it.
Yeah, well, I picked them to be the worst team in baseball this year is one of my hot takes. So that hasn't exactly gone to plan either. Been much better than that so far, and their lineup has really proved me wrong.
Yes, they have. Flip it over to the White Sox. Well, I guess staff of the week could give it away. The White Sox, as we just talked about, their offense, they've been just as good on the pitching side. They're first in ERA, first in FIP, first in home runs allowed, and second in batting average against us the first 10 days. And they are backed by Lance Lynn. Let's make no mistake. That dude is a Cy Young candidate for about the 3rd year in a row here. That dude's throwing Ched. He does not care what shape he's in. He is the epitome of unathletic fat guy playing baseball, to be frankly honest with you. But he's throwing Ched. His investment helped me get Ronald Acuna in MLB The Show, so shout out there. But Lance Lynn has been shoving along the likes of just everyone else in that rotation. Giolito's been the worst of the bunch, and that's really saying something when Lucas Giolito is your worst pitcher on your rotation so far this season. But also can't get enough love to Carlos Rondon. No hitter early in the season, hasn't been talked about nearly as much since then, but has probably been a top 5, if not top 10 pitcher in baseball this year. Has been lights out. He's back to throwing 98 again. Carlos Rodon is, like, when he first hurt his arm, he was throwing like 92, 93. I vividly remember that. He's back throwing 98 with wipeout slider and curveball. So with him being just like an added addition, kind of like Mercedes is for their offense, Carlos Rodon was a complete afterthought. Here, a guy who was borderline in AAA, and next thing you know, he is right now probably a Cy Young candidate. I realize it's May, so please no one take that out of context. But right now, a Cy Young candidate.
No, I mean, we look at the White Sox. We touched on they were offense of the month for April. Great week this week, pitching to start May. Those two right there, especially I think the pitching coming on lately. That's the reason they're sitting at 3rd right now in the MLB in winning percentage. They have the best run differential in baseball by 17 runs. They're sitting at plus 53. The next highest is Boston at plus 36. They have the second fewest runs allowed in baseball behind the Mets, who, as you talked about, have also not played as many innings. So I think had we evened out their innings wise, they've actually played 3 less games than the White Sox and given up 7 less runs. So I think on equal games, the White Sox could probably have them beat there too. So you can make an argument the White Sox have maybe the best pitching staff in baseball this season. Lynn, Rodon's been great. Hendricks in the back end of the bullpen has been exactly what they wanted out of him. And then combined with the offense, they've been great and broke out, I think, exactly how a lot of people expected them to break out this year.
Yep, absolutely they did. Let's go into standings here. We're going to start in the AL East as we always do. Boston is still leading the AL East right now. They're 3.5 games up on both the Yankees and Tampa. And then Toronto's 4 games back. Baltimore is 6.5 games back. Really, Baltimore is outperforming themselves again by a lot. Baltimore has been playing really well this year, so tip my cap to them. Just talk about the last place guy. Toronto, as you mentioned, missing Springer, but they have a plus 25 run differential in 17 and 16. I expect their win-loss to improve. Tampa's only scored 1 more run. I expect them to kind of drop down. And I think based on differential, everyone else is where they should be. Boston's played really well this year. Yankees' offense has underperformed. Toronto's missing some key guys. Tampa's exactly what Tampa is. And Baltimore's overperformed. So good looks there. Any takes there? Mr. AL East guy?
Boston has continued to prove me wrong. Offense has been outstanding. Pitching staff's been okay, but offense has really carried them. I just really thought going into the year that their offense would be decent, but not good enough to bail out the abysmal pitching staff. And the pitching staff has been good, not great. Offense has been excellent. I still don't expect it to carry through the year because I don't think the pitching's going to hold, and I don't think the offense is a top 3 offense in baseball. But, hey, we saw crazy things last year. We see crazy things in other 162-game seasons. There's more parity in baseball this year than I think we've ever seen.
I agree.
It's definitely possible for them to keep it up, for sure.
Yep. Moving over to the AL, since the Chicago White Sox are 19 and 13, they're 1 game up on Cleveland, 3.5 games up on Kansas City, 7 games up on Minnesota, and 10 up on Detroit. Kansas City has lost 8 in a row. I mentioned earlier that at the end of April they had the best record in baseball. That is no longer. They are 1-9 in their last 10, and they have lost 8 in a row. That is a rough stretch from them. But we've talked a lot on Chicago. They are exactly where we expect them to be. They're plus 53 in the run differential. They're crushing the ball and pitching the crap out of it. I honestly, this is kind of where I expected Cleveland. But what's going on in Minnesota, man? Minnesota has been an absolute train wreck this season as the, I think, very early favorite and basically the 50-50 favorite all offseason to win this division, kind of competing with the White Sox, and the other 3 teams would just file out where they needed to file out at. Minnesota is in shambles right now.
Yeah, I don't think it's as bad as the standings indicate. You look at their run differential; they're only sitting at -2 right now, which is much better than Kansas City at, I believe, -35, who somehow has 4 more wins than them. I think we get expected win-loss based on run differential. They're about 3.5 games ahead of Kansas City instead of 3.5 down. They're 0-7 in extra innings, which I don't expect to hold up. I think they're just getting unlucky. It'll turn around for them. I expect them to at least top Kansas City. That's not going to continue, but they are in a 7-game hole right now with the best run differential team in baseball by a wide margin in first place. They've put themselves in a hole to start the year that I'm not sure that they can fully dig out of. It's going to be tough.
Yep, right there with you. Moving on to the West, another really weird division. Oakland is 21 and 15 up top. Houston's 2 games back. Seattle's 2.5 games back. Texas is 3 games back, and LA is 4.5 games back. Houston has a plus 33 run differential. Their expected win-loss is 20 and 14, and they are sitting in second compared to the Oakland Athletics, who have given up 10 more runs than they have scored and have somehow scratched out a 21 and 15 record. That's weird. That's very weird. Houston will win this division. I have no qualms about it. Every number says so. They just haven't scrapped these early games together yet. But just weird, man.
Again, yeah. We've seen even we played 34 games. That's not a massive sample size, but again, if you look at expected win-loss based on run differential, they're sitting 4.5 games up, 4 games up in the division right now. Instead, they're 2 games back. Baseball is weird. I think it'll even out, but division races are going to be really interesting this year. I think right now this is the first time in a long time that I don't think there's a single runaway team in any division now.
Nope,
None.
nope. Other than maybe the White Sox.
The favorite is either not winning the division, or I think the only division you could really say the favorite is winning, maybe in the NL Central, with St. Louis. But as we've talked about, that's the most up for grabs division in baseball going into the year. So I don't expect that to continue either. I mean, that's still a wide open division race.
Hey, I think I'm going to say this every single podcast. We talk about the divisions. The Angels did not invest in pitching in the offseason. It is killing them. They have allowed 184 runs. They have the worst team ERA in baseball. They have the worst FIP. They have the worst staff in Major League Baseball. They are yet again out here not spending money on pitching and losing games. Why is that? Because I don't know at this point. I don't know. You have one thing to do. Get pitching. Mike Trout will do everything else. Literally everything else. Anyways.
Despite playing one less game and not playing in the offensive haven that is Colorado, they have still allowed more runs than the Rockies, which I actually find quite impressive. I feel like you got to try to do that.
I'm with you there. Moving over to the NL East, a absolute dumpster fire of a division right now. That is the best way I can put it. All of them have expected losing records except for Miami, who has a losing record. The New York Mets are 16-13 up top. 1 game back is the Phillies, 1.5 games back is Atlanta, 3 games back is Miami, and 3.5 games back is Washington. Wide open division. We talked about it last time. Each team has one glaring issue that I think the first one to figure it out wins the division. Frankly, if the Mets can figure out how to hit the baseball, which they have recently, that's why they won 5 in a row. Philly can figure out how to stop screwing it up. That's the best way I can put it for Philly. They'll win some games.
They won't figure that out. Throw the towel in for them now.
If the Braves,
if that's the issue they got to figure out, it ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, I think that was exemplified over the last 2 games against the Braves. The Braves is obviously pitching staff. They've allowed 171 runs this season, which comes in as bottom 5 in the league. Miami, they're doing everything right. I don't know why they have a losing record. I'm going to be honest with you. They're literally doing everything right. Tough luck at the draw. In the Nationals, is still scoring runs as well. Juan Soto's been out for most of the year, so they may turn around, but they've only scored 109 this year. The division's a dumpster fire. That's the best way I can put it. All of them have one issue, and it's not like a small issue. It is like a slap you across the face, like we need to figure this out kind of issue.
No, definitely with you there. The NL East was a division that we expected to be really competitive this year, and it's been really competitive.
Just not in a good way.
Not in the way. It's more of a race to the bottom than a race to the top right now.
Yeah, dude, I don't even want to get into it anymore than that. It's been painful.
I think at one point when we recorded last week, every team in baseball had, or every division in baseball had at least 2 teams over 500, except the NL East, which had 0.
Hey, baby steps here. Now there's 2.
Slightly gotten over that, but
hey, baby steps. I'm pretty sure Atlanta's gone from 4th to 1st to 3rd to 1st to 3rd to 1st since we've recorded last.
Washington in first like a week and a half ago.
I swear.
All over the place.
To the Central, which looks like, again, as you mentioned, a division that seems to already be shaken out pretty well. St. Louis is in first, 21-14, right behind them. Milwaukee's 2 games back. Chicago's 3.5 games back. Cincinnati 4 games back. In Pittsburgh 6 games back. Run differentials all check out. Everything makes sense. Things are happening. St. Louis look like the best team on paper. They'll probably end up taking away. Milwaukee looks like the second best team. Chicago's pitching staff has been really bad this season. That's why they're not playing nearly as well. This division's pretty chalk so far. I really don't have much here.
Yeah, I expect it to stay wide open. I think St. Louis was close to the favorite going into the year. They've certainly put up their end of the bargain run differential-wise, but they are 8-2 in their last 10. Milwaukee is 4-6. I think St. Louis was 2 games back in Milwaukee going into their last 10 for each of them. They've kind of flip-flopped. Again, I just think the NL Central is going to be more of a race to the bottom than it will be a race to the top. It's going to be, okay, who can get through Pittsburgh without losing the most games?
Yep.
they're just all so close. And that run right there, I mean, St. Louis went from down 2 to up 2 in the span of 10 games. I can just see that playing out multiple times throughout the year. We've got 4 teams that we all thought would contend within 4 games of each other. That's nothing at this point in the season. It's going to stay wide open, I think, for a while.
Yep. Let's move on to the NL East here, where the San Francisco Giants remain on top of this division. And when has been the last time the Dodgers have been in third in this division?
Probably where they lost opening day 6 years ago or something like that.
At this point, honestly, San Francisco is 20-14. Behind them, San Diego is 1.5 games back. LA is 2.5 games back. Arizona 5 games back. Colorado is 8 games back. The Giants have done everything right this season. They've pitched the crap out of it. They've hit the crap out of it. They're 12-4 at home. They've scored 151 runs. They've only allowed 124. Their expected win-loss is exactly what it is. They've done everything right. A veteran squad that has gotten off to a hot start. And boy, that makes me excited because that was my good take of the season to start the season off. And they are absolutely checking. Just, yeah. Big Buster Posey guy.
No, I mean, I think for me, the Dodgers right now are the most surprising story of the season, honestly. I mean, I know they've dealt with a few injuries. Bellinger's missed a lot of the season. They're now actually somehow lacking on pitching depth with Dustin being out for the year.
It sounds like Rob Manfred is just screwing Trevor Bauer over. I'm sure we'll see a Twitter thread about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, the fact that they still have the best run differential in that division. I think it's the 3rd best in baseball right now, or 4th best in baseball. Their run, 2-8 in their last 10. They really scuffled. Only 1 game over 500. Man, they dropped to below 500 in mid-May. That may be the most surprising thing of the season for me, I think, regardless of how bad the NL East has been, regardless of the A's leading the division right now, where the Royals having the best, maybe the Royals having the best record in baseball at the end of April. That was pretty surprising, but man, Dodgers need to turn it around because that division's looking strong.
Yeah, Dodgers are 2-8 in their last 10.
That's rough. That's rough.
No bueno. Meanwhile, San Diego's picked it up. We mentioned them staff of the month. Tatis, when he's healthy, has been quite unbelievable again this season. We mentioned the last pod, San Diego should no longer be taken lightly to Dodgers fans, and now you're in their rearview mirror. They're no longer in yours. They've passed you. They've taken the inside track there. You left a little bump and run open, and here we are. With San Diego in that second spot, but God, the Giants are in first. That just makes me horny. It is about that simple.
All right, it may be time to wrap it up.
It may be that simple. But moving on to the Shohei Ohtani update here. He continues to do unbelievable things. Hitting-wise, he's hitting 274 on the season, 944 OPS, 10 home runs, 6 stolen bases. I believe that 10 home runs is... Does it still lead the league? Is 10 home runs still the mark?
That is a good question. I think it might be tied.
I know he's tied. I'm pretty sure he's tied.
Yeah. Sometime today.
Yeah, he is tied with J.D. Martinez and Ronald Acuna Jr. 6 stolen bases as well, which puts him tied for 6th in baseball in stolen bases as well. And OPS, he's 16th, which is quite unbelievable considering on the mound he's started 4 games this season. He's only gone 18 2/3, but he struck out 30, and he has a 2.41 ERA. Again, I mentioned last pod, I've already drank the Kool-Aid. I'm in on it. I still think he should pitch less because these offensive numbers are quite unbelievable. But again, here we are with the Babe Ruth of our generation. Shohei Ohtani.
They got to teach Huskar how to play some outfield. So
look, it's about this simple. People say they want to see Shohei hit. Just Husker Yanoa hits. He's in the NL. He doesn't have to DH. He hits when he pitches. He pitches when he hits. And he hits nukes. Therefore, I think we should make this the Husker Yanoa update. But until that time comes, here we are with the Shohei Ohtani update, the second most Babe Ruth-like player in baseball behind one and only Husker Yanoa. But now, back to Shohei. He's been unbelievable this season. Nothing slowed him down. He's the only decent pitcher on the Angels.
No, he's been great. Um, yeah, I think it's awesome for baseball what he's been able to do. That's really helped, I think, draw some extra attention game. We've talked a lot about ways that baseball can kind of drum up some interest and stop playing third fiddle to the NBA and the NFL, and he's going to be a big part of that for sure.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Let's wrap it up here. Let's go 3 stars. You to start with your first star.
Yeah. Hard to ignore. Wade Miley threw a no-no this week for Cincinnati. He's been a guy kind of, I mean, what is this? He threw the 4th because his was after Means, right?
Yes.
The 4th of the year, 8 Ks, 1 hit, or 1 walk against Cleveland. Not a hit. That would not make him a no-hitter. 1 walk against Cleveland. Great start for him. Definitely been a great start of the year, accomplishment-wise, with these 4 no-hitters.
Yeah, I mean, that'll just lead me right to mind. John Means, no-hitter, 12K, 0 walks, only a error screwed the pooch there for John Means. First time 4 no-hitters have been thrown in the first month of baseball since 1917. Which reroutes me to that point about hitting, but we've already covered that, so we're just gonna act like we had that conversation earlier because we did. But yeah, that's a little stupid in my opinion. That we have guys like John Means and Wade Miley throwing no-nos up here. But hey, tip my cap.
Philip Humber threw a perfect game.
Philip Humber's built different.
I feel like you can't rule anything out at this point.
Fair enough.
My second star this week, we talked about him in the team of the week, but I feel like he had such a great week. I had to mention him again. Hit 4 dongs now. His last 7 games, 13 of 28, 12 RBIs. Adolis Garcia, he's had a great week. Really helped carry that Rangers offense. I think 2 nights ago he had a 5 RBI game. Just an all around really solid week.
Yep, absolutely. Go to my second one. We mentioned him earlier. Yasmani Grandal. He has not gotten hit this week. Instead, he has walked 10 times. He has a 556 OBP with 0 base hits.
It's impressive.
That is impressive, man. He went 0 for 0 with 4 walks a couple games ago. Hey, one way or another, brother, get on. But I got to tip my cap to good old Yasmani.
Yeah, no, he's been great. I don't think I've ever seen that slash line before.
No.
I don't know that we'll ever see it again.
No.
Maybe with baseball going the way it is, maybe. But my third star this week, Robbie Grossman. Tigers have had the worst offense in baseball. They've been worst record in baseball, worst offense in baseball. They've been putrid. We've talked, I think really the only mention of Detroit we've had on the podcast all year is when Jonathan Scope was struggling out of the gate. But Grossman had a couple 3-for-3 days for the Tigers this week. So solid for him. A little bit of a bright spot on a really abysmal Tigers offense and team this year. So haven't talked about him much this year. I figured we'd give a little Detroit Tiger love today.
Oh, yeah, Robbie Grossman, the newest member of the Acuna Matatas fantasy baseball squad.
And the Acuna Matatas that are like second lowest in scoring this season.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when I have to pick up Robbie Grossman. Because Christian Yelich has been an absolute 0 this season. Sorry. So is Frederick Freeman. Sorry. And think of waking up in the morning and going, that makes sense. Let's draft Christian Yelich. And he decides to go on the IL all season. Big brain time. And
He's hitting 353.
In like 7 at-bats. Like, excuse me, he's been on the IL twice already. And then look, man. Now that we're on the subject, before I get to my third, you know what? I'll talk to it right after my third star. Third star, Brandon Crawford here for me, the original sexy shortstop, greasy hair, beautiful man. He's just turned me up. A 1627 OPS with 3 home runs along with 6 walks. Between him, Belton Posey, the core of the 2014 World Series champions Giants are still leading this squad to a division stronghold right now. They're on top of that division, and it's been the same 3 guys that have been there the whole time, and Brandon Crawford's kind of leading the way right now for him. He's looking as great as always with the glove over there, shortstop, but offensively just cracking balls into the lake.
No, he's been one of the reasons that San Francisco's in first in their division right now. We always talk about him as a glove-first guy, but he always has these stretches where he hits well offensively, and this is certainly one of them.
All right, back to my fantasy team. Every year, and I swear this has happened like 4 out of like the 6 or 7 years in recent memory. I go, yeah, man. You know what? Steven Strasburg, borderline Cy Young pitcher, really good numbers. He'll stay healthy this season, right? And he's on the IL in the first month of the season. Why? Why do I draft Steven Strasburg thinking he's going to stay healthy? I swear he's been on my team 3 or 4 times. And then I'm sitting here. Byron Buxton, happy surprise. Christian Yelich has had maybe 7 at-bats on the season. Paul DeJong has literally forgotten how to hit a baseball. Josh Donaldson's been hurt. Who else is on my team? Will Smith, good. Freddie Freeman has just been a walk machine. David Fletcher, don't know why I made that pick, whatever. Nolan Arenado's been good. Javier Baez has been up and down. Paul DeJong can't hit a baseball. Kyle Seager's been exactly what he needed to be. Tommy Pham is batting 190. Didn't expect that one. David Dahl's batting 210. Joey Gallo's batting 229. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. is batting 205. Robbie Grossman, the newest member of the Hakuna Matatas, hasn't been that great. Austin Riley's picked it up. So the offense has been lackluster, and this is when we get into problems. The moment I pick up Lou Trevino, he drops a negative 17 spot on me. Tyler Anderson.
Awful.
Yeah, that's what happens when Steven Strasburg can't stay healthy. Noah Syndergaard isn't healthy. I had to drop Chris Sale. I have so many guys going on my IL. Herman Marquez.
You screwed yourself from the beginning by using 2 draft picks on guys who wouldn't pitch half the year.
Who were I going to draft? Steven Matz at that point?
I don't know. So a couple of my late round picks have been decent.
Yeah, well, great for you. My first round picks have been awful. I'm trying to swindle Melendez out of Acuna, and he won't respond to my trades.
My first round pick really sucked.
Who didn't you have the first pick?
I had the second pick.
Oh.
Somehow I ended up with Trout.
Ooh. Did Mookie Betts go first overall?
Yes. I forget who was picking first, but they took Mookie. Rejoicing.
I hate fantasy baseball. This thing is the bane of my existence. I've had multiple people do fantasy baseball on your podcast. Bro, I can't. You don't want my advice. That's the thing. You don't want my advice.
If you want to lose your league, sure.
Yeah, dude, if you want to put up a nice middle of the road record, but like you look at the stats and somehow you've been the luckiest team all season, like if that's what you want, I can give you that in fantasy baseball. You want guys that'll go in the IL the moment you add them? I got you. Draft Steven Strasburg every season until he stays healthy. God, I hate fantasy baseball. I don't want to hear your take on fantasy baseball. I'm pretty sure you're leading the league in points right now. I don't want to hear it.
Second.
Oh, just measly second. What are you, 6 points behind?
I think I've scored the most points. I think I've scored the most points in the league the last 2 weeks.
Hey, all I gotta say is I've scrapped together 2 wins this season. I'm working. I'm making moves. I'm working here. Don't you worry about me. Got Brad last week, easy dubs. You know what I'm saying? Just hey. I'm like the Dodgers, man. I'm there. I'm going to be there by the end of the season. Don't you worry about Acuna Matatas, who doesn't even have Ronald Acuna because Melendez won't answer my trade request. I mean, who doesn't want Christian Yelich and Paul DeJong for Ronald Acuna? Sounds pretty fair to me. Final thoughts this week? Those are all of my final thoughts.
I think it's the week of the unheralded breakout star.
It was most definitely that falafel. Most definitely that.
Now you're making me hungry.
Good God. Isaiah Keener Falefa?
Falefa.
Dude, there's too many too much tongue action in here.
This is an exercise in futility.
Right, man. You know it's never going to get right, baby. Eventually we're going to have to figure out all the names I said wrong.
Funny, we were just talking about this the other day. Me and one of my buddies were talking about the podcast. I forget what brought it up, but someone said something about pronunciation. Not like guys... maybe it was a baseball game we were watching. One of the broadcasters was pronouncing guys' names wrong, and I was like, "Yeah, on our podcast, my buddy always I can't pronounce
it, bro."
And I always think in my head, Justin, just Let me sing it.
Hey,
Just,
hey, hey, I let
just
you do
let
it
me
this week.
pronounce it. You finally did it today.
I finally did it today. I let you get it, Isaiah Kinner Falafel out of the way. Chalk him up with Jules Cassine. There's probably a whole paper list long about
There's a
30
whole
guys.
slew of them.
Like it goes on and on and on. I could probably go for about an hour, but I'm not. I'm gonna save everyone the pain and drama of doing that because that's gonna wrap us up here for this episode. We'll catch you guys next week.